Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Mompreneurs, The Real Deal, where we get real and raw with everything mompreneurs face. I'm Dr. Sarah Breen.
And I am Jen Gode, and you are in for a treat today. I have a dear friend of mine, a special guest, and an expert, a true expert at marketing strategy here with me. She has been through the gamut, single mother, with a life partner, with a business partner, and back to running everything on her own. And so you're going to have such an amazing time and amazing takeaways with Rachel Drody. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hi, I am so glad to be here with you guys. This is a real treat for me, and I look forward to being able to share my story, and hopefully it'll help somebody else who's going to go through what I went through.
Absolutely. And so trigger alert, folks. We may have some tears on this. We may talk about some tough topics, and just know that it's real. We're talking about what's raw and real in business today. So I'm going to lead open, Rachel. You started in corporate, and you were a rock star in corporate. You started in that space. Talk to us a little bit about the trajectory of your powerful career, how you moved forward, how that came into being, and where you are now.
So I started off, and I was working for Homeland Security as a public information officer. I had made my way to the next best thing, and I was working for another agency, and then a 2.2 industrial supplier, and I was heading up global efforts marketing there. And then with that, I had twins. And I got divorced. And now I've got two tiny babies, and now a career that's taking off and really going for where it needs to be. And with that, I needed to be the mom I wanted to be. And that becomes so hard when you've got the corporate job that you've been aiming for your entire life. And now I've got two tiny babies, and I've made a promise to them. I wanted to be the mom I wanted to be, but I also wanted the career, because I just didn't identify just as a mom or just a career person. And I think that's where a lot of us struggle. I've always been in the marketing space, so I opened up and decided to start my own agency. And I was on this great path, and it didn't take me, I was so lucky, within about a week of marketing myself and going to networking events, I was full-time working for myself. And I realized that that's most people's not their career path, but that's what ended up being mine. And I'm a single mom. I've got two tiny babies, and I'm starting up a business, and it's my only source of income. Now, the struggle is real. And how do I manage that? How do I be a mom, still do the career thing, still make all the great pieces? And we started making it work. And from there, I got into coaching, and I had the best coach ever, if I'm allowed to brag about Miss Paula Cook, who works for you and is, your right hand. And there, it was humbling. Paula really called me down to the floor, and it was, I needed a life partner. I needed a partner because she's focused on my life as a CEO and not just my business. And I wasn't real ready to date. And then it was, you need to start bringing on a team. Mm-hmm. And I was doing good before. I knew my stuff. I got my lane. We were going. And I listened to her. Thankfully, I
remember. So I've known you through all of this, Rachel, yes. And I remember you were like rocking and rolling. I was really enjoying your journey. You were just kicking butt and taking names, and there was no limit, except for the fact that you were the one person doing all the things. And I distinctly remember a conversation when I asked you. I'm like, well, what happens if something happens to Rachel? And now, like, you've really pulled yourself together. You've built that team. And talk to me a little bit about how important it was to build that team for what was coming next.
Oh, it's everything. And finding the right people. Oh, that's so hard. The HR, issue of it. I found this director. Her name's Tessa. She's my left and my right hand. I don't know where I would do without her. And I grew from having her. And then it was adding in team members that did, website and social and just putting all these amazing people into place. And some didn't stay and some did. And it was growing that. And then the team, but then comes all the other fun stuff with HR and managing this process and payroll and all this other stuff that I wasn't part of my hemisphere. Mm-hmm. And never part of the business journey that I had before. I think most of us, we take off and we're not expecting those pieces.
Well, and there's the other side of it. You're a single mom with two babies, and you need to support the family. And when we take on team, it's scary. because all of a sudden we're thinking, oh, the bottom line means I'm not going to take home as much. Like, that's the first fear we have to conquer. And I know everyone watching, if you're a mompreneur, you have experienced this. When is the right time for me to hire, but I don't have enough revenue? And what happens if I can't keep them? Talk to me about how you overcome that fear in building a team.
You know, one of the things that made me feel really good is I was sitting down, and it was a bunch of business owners sitting at dinner, and I got to sit across from Jen, and she was just like, there is nothing more scary than wondering if you're paying your employees. I took that when I went home, and I sat with that for a little bit, and I was like, she did it. I can do it.
Wow, I feel special.
And you should, because I've always looked to you as that, because there are certain people that you have professional crushes on, and I want to get to their level, and I want this. And that's where you keep aiming at, right? And that helped, is hearing that other owners, because we assume that we're on an island. Mm-hmm. We assume that so much, that we're the only ones facing all of this. And it was, I have to make sure to pay these people on top of, you know, for what they're doing, and then managing, and then extra fees, and side blinded by something else. It was nuts. And then in the midst of all of this, of trying to raise two tiny humans, and daycare and sickness and all this other stuff, and then I'm training employees, and I was crazy enough to start dating. And then I fell in love. And then I married this amazing human being that happened to be a business coach. And then we rolled him into our business. And so then I'm managing being in a marriage with my business partner. And that's two separate animals. And how do you work together? And who's the alpha? And who's in charge of this? And how do you still do with this man who's used to being in charge? And now he's coming into a business that's succeeding already. Mm-hmm. I was already starting to win awards at what we were doing, and I'm already seeing my team grow. And not only grow, but now they're in leadership positions in networking groups and things like that. They're coming into their own, and we're filling out. And it got crazy. And I felt like I was on top of the world 2 years ago. My team's growing. It was huge. I had the staff that I wanted. I had the husband I wanted. I had two perfect kids, everything. And then I lost him. I lost my husband with no warning. He had a heart attack at 46 years old, and I lost the greatest husband that the world can imagine. And not only did I have to recover my home life, my kids, my business partner is now missing. My whole world went out 18 months ago and just gone. And we'd only been married 11 months. Wow. And now I am trying to figure out, as a, early 40-year-old, death benefits, all this other stuff, key player insurance. Where is all of this stuff? I have to also keep the business going. And if I wouldn't have gone into coaching, if I would not have had the team, I wasn't available. In fact, they're having to watch their boss, and they're grieving on top of that, because not only he was part of the business, he was friends with everybody. He is publicly known. He's one of those that was, making all the TikTok videos, and everybody was paying to follow him. And, we had this, now there's this gaping hole. And now how do I pick myself back up? Now, how do I get back in charge of all of my stuff? How do I grieve? How do I take a shower, put my kids into therapy, go to therapy myself, and still produce at the same level that I was producing? And some days you just go, I feel like I'm a phoenix rising. It was like I was burned down to ashes. There was nothing left of me to give. Not to my clients, not to my team, where do I pour from? And I think that was one of the biggest challenges. And then I'm trying to go back to being number one. And you're used to being number one. And now you're looking at somebody else being number one. And how do I let go and forgive myself for losing that, even though I didn't do anything? And now how do I grieve him and make it right? And how do I make these kids proud? And how do I still, being a good business partner, networking partner, how do I hold my end of what I promised to do in that fire? And I think that most people wouldn't have held me to the standards that I held myself.
Of course.
But that's what we do as moms. And I mean that as no disregard to a dad. But that's what we keep getting up to do. And I think it's that internal driver. that once you have said, I'm going to do this, when you're one of those people, that means that you're going to do it. You figure out some way to do it. Now, if I wouldn't have had my parents, if I wouldn't have had my team, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would have done without Tessa. There were so many times where, you know, she's having to work at my house and watch me grieve and answer the calls for Arlington, you know, because my husband's headstone is going up there. And, you know, that just sending you right back into your grief. And how do you manage those waves of grief that kept coming on top of the challenges that are coming in business? And I'm in social media and marketing. My field is consistently changing. And that bar is always raising, and it is constantly changing. The keep up is hard.
Yeah, and so you've brought so many things to light. We talked a lot about your journey, and it's really powerful. And I think for those of you who are listening at home, key takeaways are, you might be a solopreneur or you might have a team already, but it's time to allow other people in to support you. Build the team that's going to complete your business and trust them, empower them. What Rachel did was she empowered Tessa to make those decisions, and it couldn't have come at a better time because she was uniquely positioned to where she had team members who could pick up the slack when life happened. And Sarah and I have talked about life happening a lot on the show. It's about having the right teams, having the right system, and having that support network built. And we're going to dive into step by step how to go through the grieving process and be an entrepreneur, because sometimes we're grieving loss of a partner or a spouse or something else in our business, maybe an employee. So it's a part of business. We're going to dive into how Rachel did that and give you some action steps, and then we're going to dive into how to build the systems for success right after these messages.